All right, so once you are at a point of your walking endeavors and you are ready to jog from point A to point B, okay, so I just count, breathe, take gentle strides, taking note. I just want to get to this lamppost, okay? And then I'm just gonna walk. And breathe intentionally through it. So, for my hips, I opt to jog up the hills. It's less what is the word I'm looking for? Stress on my lower back when I come back down. So you could opt to walk your straightaways, the flats. But I feel sometimes when I land with my heel, it's a little too hard and it can jolt. It can just be a little too jolting, right? On that lower back area that has been pinched up. So I find that it's easier on my body if I slowly jog up the hills. So this hill is a little bigger here, and I'm definitely walking down because downhill is even more jolting on my body. So I'm coming to this marker here, and I'm gonna turn there this time, okay? This hill is a little bit steeper than the little tiny one that I just jogged up. So I just work my way up to the different levels of these hills in terms of steepness, of which one I feel like jogging. So I'm showing you on the lower aspect, so you would possibly start on your flatlands if you don't have the pinched up back. If you have a pinched area that could get jolted, and you have been approved for stretching and exercise again, like I have, you might want to opt for the little hill areas that are going to be less strainful on your lower back or pinched up areas. So after a year and a half of chiropractic adjustments, and they were doing the machine stretching, There's a term for that. Usually takes me a little while to remember what that one's called. So, did that for a year and a half. And then they told me I could start stretching and getting movement again. Why was I not allowed to do those things while I was getting the adjustments and the stretching treatment that I can't think of the term for at this moment? Because, well, like I was just talking about, once they told me I could, I was like, oh, I'm gonna go for a walk. And I got the bright idea in my head, oh, I'm gonna do my burst training because I love a little burst training. So I'm gonna jog to that curve up there. So I got my jog going, right? And then I stopped and it was a flat land and it jolted my back. And then I had to walk the rest of the way to the car, right? And I had injured myself. So they don't want you to do anything to injure yourself where you're already injured. So I took a break from that and I just started doing healthy eating habits and hydration, right? We gotta start somewhere. So I opted for that for a little while. And I was getting some movement in, don't get me wrong, I was walking a little. And then I decided, all right, I'm gonna start walking every day. So I gave myself 30 minutes. I'm gonna walk for 30 minutes. Now granted, I had already been doing some walking, so if I was just starting, I would start with 15 minutes. Because you have to push yourself, you know? And then once you get comfortable and you're walking that 15 minutes with ease, and then you can add in either an extra 15 minutes, so you would start 30 minutes, or depending on where you're at in your journey, right? You may say, all right, I'm gonna walk my 15 minutes, but I'm gonna put some intention into this 15-minute walk today. I'm gonna use this marker and turn around. All right. And so I'm gonna be intentional and I'm gonna jog from that marker up here just to the curve. The curve in the road. In which is right here on mine, okay? So that would be burst training. Using some intentional breathing. Just to keep my body calm. And it really helps. So I guess in terms of your autonomic nervous system, years ago, we would probably only run if we were trying to save our own life, right? From something that was chasing us. So our heart rate gets all up and we have all that excitability going on in our body, right? So we don't want to create that kind of havoc. So we can just breathe intentionally into it and keep our bodies calm. And then we're just walking. Am I worried about if I'm walking fast, slow? No, I'm just worried that I'm walking. I'm getting movement. So when my arms are pumping, I have lymph glands under there. So you see how my nose is starting to get all a little stuffy, whatever. I have some drainage going on, right? Well, I haven't been able to get movement for a year and a half. And then I tried and kind of hurt myself, so I still had to pause. So really, it's been 2 years now. So we become stagnant. Our lymphatic system doesn't have a way of moving through the body unless if we are moving, right? So movement is important for our health so that we are getting that lymphatic system moving and flowing. What does it do? Well, it picks up toxins and moves them through. So we can dispose of toxins that are in our body, right? So what happens when we are stagnant, still, unmoving? Everything builds up in there, right? So you can tell it's calmed back down again, so you can tell that the little burst training that I did up that hill got the lymphatic system flowing, right? So that's pretty amazing. Just take note, I'm using this marker and turning around. Take note of how your body is reacting. So I'm pushing into my heels, getting that extra stretch across my glutes. Feel into your body. See what you are actually feeling, where you're feeling the stretching happening with the different types of movements. And just be very intentional with the time that you have allotted yourself. A little bit of self-care and love. this is a good way to clear out your headspace as well. Because what does our ego mind do? I've driven from work to home, or from massage therapy school to home, or from home to grandma's house, and wondered, how in the heck did I even make it to my location, right? Because what happens? We literally go into such deep thought sometimes. We play out all these little scenarios in our head when we are alone. So being more intentional with our self-care time helps us to not sit and dwell upon and think about the things that our ego mind wants to take us to, right? So it's just a good way to really clear out your headspace. Be intentional with some time. Focus. And just really help yourself to be more centered, present in the moment, and taking care of yourself. Of course, if something arises, it's okay. You want to just feel through it. So I've spent too much time pondering on things that I have no control over, right? And it's just a waste of time and energy, because there's really nothing I can do about things that are outside of me. They're outside of my control. So what I can do is focus on my mental health, my well-being, my personal space, what I'm doing, what I have going on in my own life, and how I can make the best of every single moment of every single day for me. Is that selfish? No, it is not selfish. I mean, who's going to take care of me when my health fails because my mental well-being brought me into a state of mind that literally manifested illness in my body, right? I've been there and done that. So I know that it's unhealthy. And I know that I can also bring myself back out of those types of situations, right? I've done it before. So I will do it over and over and over again if I have to. But I also can teach myself to allow myself to feel what I'm feeling. So not everybody's going to like me, you, right? We can't be everybody's cup of tea, so they say. But guess what? somebody else's opinion is not our business. So I'm gonna be the first to say, if somebody comes to you and says, so and so said such and such, that type of thing, right? Well, what did you say to so and so to defend me when I wasn't present? Right? Oh, did you join into that negative talk about me when I wasn't present? Okay. Duly noted. So I just have to love some people from a distance, right? I'm not gonna dislike, hate, be angry, any of that. I'm gonna feel the hurt. Because I'm a human being. And we have feelings. So I'm gonna feel the hurt. I'm gonna allow my body to release that in whatever way that hurt is effective, right? So if it affects me in a way that makes me release tears, then I'm gonna go ahead and shed the tears and cry because that hurt, right? And then I'm gonna breathe. I'm gonna be intentional through this. And I'm just going to breathe through it. Really helps to close your eyes with these kinds of things. And I'm just gonna let it go. Gonna release it. I accepted it for what it is. I felt it for the way it affected me. I breathed through it and I released it out. Okay, because my mental health is going to be my top priority. What you think of me is none of my business. And if people want to bring that to my attention, then I have to distance myself from those type of people as well. We need to learn how to lift one another up. So we have to find those kind of people that we want to spend some time with and around together and build that kind of acceptance of one another and love for one another and care for one another and just coping through life in that kind of way. So I'm getting some more lymphatic drainage as I am walking. I can feel it flowing through the back of my throat. So I've been walking this figure 8 between the two driveways. And now I'm gonna go to the back and I'm gonna walk. It's like a double figure 8 back here. It's quite the mess, and I have to watch where I'm stepping because, well, we live in the woods and snakes live in the woods, so I've seen a few. Never really on my just walking journeys, but definitely don't want to step on one, right? So I just make my way through my little path I should create a path back here. I did it once, but it was just the boxes. I lay the boxes out and then I lay mulch over the boxes. This is a black walnut tree and there are black walnuts. They're medicinal. So the path that I made back here, I made a big mistake. I bought hay bales. I wanted bales of hay for like the fall season because I like to decorate my wonderful, joyful mess out here. I decorate anyways, I don't care. So at the end of the season, I laid out a bunch of boxes and I spread hay over the boxes. Well, would you know what happened the following summer? I had hay. I had fields of hay growing. So it's easy to pull up, thankfully, but everything I do seems to be teaching me some type of lesson in life. I kept planting all my plants back there and they kept dying. And I was like, what's wrong with me? My grandmother has such a green thumb. She can grow anything. And I was like, she's just full of love. That's all it is. It's got to be. She's just loving everything. And I'm not tending to my plants properly. It's got to be something, right? So a friend of mine comes over here. She has a beautiful garden full of everything. It's a wonderful mess too, but I love it and she loves it, right? So she comes over here and she says, that's a black walnut tree. And I was like, is it? And she was like, yeah. I was like, oh, okay. So she was like, well, you know, it's really medicinal. And I'm like, is it? She's like, yeah. But it's toxic to other plants. I was like, what do you mean? She said, oh yeah, it'll kill anything that you plant around it where the roots are growing under and where the nuts are falling down and the leaves. But that root system is really toxic. It wasn't me, y'all. It was the black walnut tree. It's toxic. So I brought all my stuff up here. You see my mess? I had to plant it all up here because I wanted them to grow. And they kept dying. Thankfully, I was getting things out of her yard and out of my grandmother's yard, and you know, people that are full of love and kindness and generosity will give you the offsprings of their plants, you know? So, started them all over in the front yard. But where I put the boxes down and the mulch over it, y'all, every year I do it, every year. And it breaks down and it builds the most beautiful soil. So everything that I plant in that front yard now is thriving. I don't really water things. Nature takes care of all the things up there, but I do spend time throwing the mulch. One year I throwed my mulch a little too thick and I killed out all of my wildflowers that were there because I covered them up so thickly that they couldn't get sunlight sprout through, whatever, I don't know. So I had to start all over again because everything's a learning process for Christy. And it's okay, because guess what? Working in the yard, out in nature, do you hear? All the sounds of nature, breathing in the fresh air, playing in the dirt, right? It's good for your immune system. People don't want to get dirty. Gotta get dirty sometimes, people. I was raised in the country, out in the cornfields, and we had really big pond, a man-made pond with an island. They built a bridge over to the island. So as kids, we were always outside making mud pies and swimming in the pond and walking out to the little island, playing in the cornfields, right? We grow up in the hustle and bustle of life. Guess what that does? Keeps us in constant stress. Well, we have to learn to breathe through it, because the body thinks something's chasing after us, right? How do you breathe? Normally, we are just breathing very shallow through our chest. That is a sign of stress. So we want to fill that belly, fill those lungs. Take note of how different you feel. Just from that one breath.